Welcome to the Business Storyteller Podcast by Piktochart. This is a series of conversations with inspiring leaders and entrepreneurs to share their knowledge and experience in storytelling for their business. If you're curious to learn how the art of storytelling can make an impact on your business and brands, the Business Storyteller Podcast is for you. Hi there, and thank you for listening to the Business Storyteller Podcast. My name is Wilson, and I'm your host for today's episode. In today's episode, we are exploring the big topic of video storytelling and why businesses need to start investing in it. I'm thrilled to be joined by an expert in this area, and we'll be picking his brains on this topic. So today, I'll be speaking with Marcos Bravo, who is the brand ambassador and head video storyteller of LiveChat. Marcos is a veteran marketing and brand expert with over 20 years of experience in many industries. And LiveChat is a complete customer service platform serving more than 30,000 businesses in over 150 countries. They are trusted by brands such as Adobe, IKEA, Nikon, ING, Atlassian, and many more. And so today, Marcos will be sharing his experience and insights with all of us. Hi, Marcos. Welcome to the Business Storyteller Podcast. And I'm so excited to have you with us today. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, and thank you so much for having me. I mean, I'm very honored to be with you guys. I mean, Piktochart is one of my definitely best tools. So when you guys invited me, I was like, yay, we're going big.
Yeah, I'm really excited to have an expert like yourself to also come on our show. So before we go any further, I'm sure our listeners would love to know you better. I've introduced you a bit, but maybe you'd like to introduce yourself further and also tell us how you got into video storytelling and your role at LiveChat right now.
Okay, so the first 20 years of my life, I spent it at home back in Chile, and I was a very typical teenager until I finished university. So then there was an internship in Disney World that I applied and I got it. So I went to work for Disney World, which was a crazy experience. And after that, I decided that the world was too big to stay in one place. So I started traveling, and for about literally 20 years, I went from photographer to sales to marketing to teaching Spanish in different countries, even to being a scuba diver instructor, making beer. Well, tons of different things that gave me a lot of experience into taking a bigger role in marketing. Yeah. And when the time came for LiveChat, I was actually opening my own popsicle business. Okay. I quit my job as a marketer. I started my own popsicle business, and suddenly I'm working around the mall, and I get a phone call from LiveChat and say, look, we've seen some of the stuff that you do for other companies. They heard a podcast that I did with them. So they're like, do you want to come and be our brand ambassador, our video guy? And the rest is history. Obviously, I said yes. And for the last 2 years, we've been building a whole content strategy based on video.
Wow. From popsicle to podcast and video. That's a really good transition. Yeah. Exciting, and like the wealth of like your experiences in your resume must be crazy.
It is a funny one to read in LinkedIn for sure.
Yeah. Well, I'm really excited to get our conversation going. So let's get started. And my first question for you in this topic is this: like, as a video storytelling expert yourself, why is video storytelling so important at the present time, and why should people care about this?
There's been a sort of a switch into the way the companies, people relate to companies, and I think video was the answer. People wanted to hear more from the people that made the company. They wanted to see a face behind the brand, and they sort of stopped listening to brands. And when brands realized that, they was like, well, let's put someone from our team to talk, and that started working great. People started relating with the actual people behind, and is the human touch going back. So they wanted to hear from this human on the other side, how, like, what are the things that inspire the brand, they inspire the company, and started picking up big. And now even huge companies are doing and it's not about the big production, right? They're doing video in many ways. They're pushing their own employees to share their experiences. They try to do all the updates from what they do in video, and it's probably here to stay. I mean, I know people don't like talking to people too much nowadays. Like, they try to avoid the conversations. Mm-hmm. But when you get to see a video and you can consume it in your own time, that makes a big difference. That gives you the power, but it also gives you the connection to see a human behind.
Yeah, I like that you mentioned about not needing like a big production, because that is actually one of the questions that we are going to tackle later on. Because I also understand like the challenges of like video storytelling and the pressure of like, oh, you need a lot of probably budget on this, a lot of resources, a lot of skill set on this. But yeah, little later, I'm sure we're going to explore into that to figure out.
Cool.
Based on your observation, that's something that we talk about, like why it's important at the present time. But based on your observation of the future, how do you see video strategy affecting the future of businesses and brands in the long term?
People's gonna start relating to your style, to your tone of voice, and there's definitely no better way to explain or expose that tone of voice than video. So what people's gonna like or customers are gonna like is not gonna be anymore your catchphrase or the actual product. The product has to be good, doesn't matter what, right? But when you're dropping that message, they're gonna fall in love with your tone, with the way you talk to them, with the stories that you're telling. That's going to make a bigger connection, and that definitely is going to create loyal customers in a much deeper way than just text or just ads or whatever in the technical side, right? So when people get to listen to this thing, it's going to create and generate a more meaningful relationship with the brand. Mm-hmm. But I think the key is that they're going to get to hear this tone of voice that will definitely need to be well thought.
Yeah. And as you're mentioning that, I'm also thinking about how, like, if you can imagine like a live chat as a person, how would they look like? And when you mention like the word tone and people being able to see it, I guess that's how video storytelling also helps to tell the story of your brand. Like when people see this, they know that this is from LiveChat, this is from Piktochart, this is from a particular brand. So is that exactly the same?
Yeah. Exactly. It's just you get to envision, and this is an exercise I used to do. I spend a little time consulting for marketing, and I'll do a workshop for companies. All right, today we're just going to draw your brand as a person. Yep. And you get to draw like, well, is it young, old, did they go to college, or they just high school dropouts, or are they smartass, or are they, you know what I mean? It's like all these details, even, and then you go to details into hair, ethnicity, like how would you envision this voice coming out, and then makes it a lot easier for you to create a persona and to find a persona to put in front of video as well.
Yeah, that's a good correlation. Well, and kind of just going back to the earlier concern that we had about how video strategy is challenging. So for businesses and brands that haven't embraced video as part of marketing strategy, like what is your advice to help them get started? Do they need a professional setup or a dedicated team to get started?
Let me answer that in two parts. First of all, when they're thinking about video, and this is my new mantra for marketing, is TTT. Just test. Doesn't matter what. Don't stop. Just keep testing, keep learning, keep testing. Don't just grab any strategy from a book, implement the whole thing, and see what happened. Test little things. These are the things that are going to show you if it works or not for you. Because maybe video will not work for your brand, and that's fine. But you need to test it before to know. And now regarding the production. No, just don't worry about it. That if it start working for you, invest some more, but start with your phone. There was a guy that I used to follow in LinkedIn. I don't remember his name, but he will go around with an electric scooter with a phone attached to it and some AirPods, and he will just drive around his town talking about business, which is probably very dangerous, not paying attention to the road. But that was it. That's all he needed. Like he had the microphone from the AirPods, he has his phone. And he will make video, but it was not about the production. It was about what he's talking about and how his tone engage, right? So no, don't worry about the production. Start with your phone. Start testing. Start with this little cheap ring lights, which I'm using right now.
Me too.
You see, that's all you need. Like literally everything I have in my room, it didn't cost me more than $100. And this is where I record my podcasts, my personal stuff, and it works. So start cheap. If it works for you, start investing more. But don't forget that after all, it's the message that's going to make the difference.
Yeah, I appreciate the fact that you mentioned TTT, test. It's so true, because if you never get started, you never test it out, you actually won't know if it's working. And you also mentioned how it might not work for you, but you have to test it out. So I remember like at Piktochart a few years ago, when we start to see the switch towards more video content, we decided to give it a test, and we saw the fruits of it. So that's why we're doing what we're doing now, like webinars or podcasts or even video. And that has been helpful for us. And I think the initial stage was a bit challenging, but I get the challenges of like, okay, we have to just get it started, try it out, and then see what works after that.
Exactly. Just look at the numbers afterwards.
Yeah. So I know I'm speaking with the right person here because your YouTube channel Success by LiveChat has grown to more than 1,000 subscribers in just 1 year. And that is a great achievement. So congrats on that great milestone.
Thank you so much. It was a lot of work behind. It was a lot of promotion, which it was a never paid promotion. That's something we're very proud. We didn't put any money behind it to promote the channel.
That's awesome.
Try to let it grow. Yeah, we try to let it grow organically. And even myself, my best technique was to talk to people in LinkedIn. It's like, look, I have a project. I'm making this channel. Why don't you take a look at it? And if you like it, subscribe. It worked.
For our listeners who are listening to this, definitely check out Success by LiveChat. I'm sure you enjoy the content there. You'll be able to see Marcos in person, hear his very engaging and charismatic way of communicating to you a particular message. So a lot of valuable content there from you and your team. So definitely check that out. But I want to bring that up because I also realized that a lot of businesses might actually struggle to justify investing into like their YouTube channel, right? So based on the success in your experience, could you perhaps share some tips with us? How do you launch a successful channel on YouTube? And maybe proving the ROI of investing to it, especially to CEO or the upper level management.
So that's going to be a struggle for everybody. Even we still struggle with that. The direct ROI from a video channel, unless you have super clear path through it with call to actions and different things that takes you to eventually convert someone, is really hard to pinpoint, right? But it also depends what you want your video to do. If you want your video to convert, you better invest a lot of money based on how much it takes you to convert someone, right? But if you want your video channel to be your top of the funnel initiative to gain brand recognition and to sort of kick off the customer journey, then relax with the ROI. You know that what you're doing is right, like by looking at how your channel grows, how people talk about it. That's a start, and it's not a short sprint. It's a marathon. This is something that you have to keep up. Like the first thing my boss told me when I said, "Look, we did 1,000 subscribers in a year." I was like, "All right, let's do 10,000 next year." So it's always more, right? They always need more, but that's fine. I mean, it's a good challenge for you to keep growing. But when you look at the ROI in justifying this investment, and that's what I was saying, start small. See how the things grow. Things out the feedback that you get from your customers, from peers, and see how that moves forward. But it really depends on where you want to stick the video on your marketing funnel. If you go in super top of the funnel, try to even forget about the ROI and just enjoy the content and make sure that this is an important part of your content. Now, if you want it to be the piece that is going to convert people, that's a whole different strategy. There's a whole different tone of voice. And it's a whole different people that's watching that video. It's people that went through a whole journey, right? So the ROI thing is something that we still try to give a number, but for a good rule of thumb of where to start, one view in YouTube is worth about 20, 30 cents. That's the number that we came out with. But that number can increase depending on what your video is doing. Right, but that's the basic. That's the minimum of video you should give to your own videos. Like if someone watches it, that's 30 cents worth of exposure.
Okay, that's a really good insight in terms of like the ROI. And I also appreciate how you mentioned it is a marathon. I think we expect quick results, and as a result, we give up way too quickly. So I think just like marketing, even in video storytelling, it is like evergreen content that we're putting out on YouTube, and it's a place that is just full of people who are exploring. In fact, I think nowadays when people are looking for stuff like how to something, they don't go on Google anymore. They go on YouTube and search for, okay, how do I fix a door, right? How do I learn more about video marketing? So it's a really great place for our content to be found there. So you mentioned about LiveChat just now, and I'm curious to hear this from you in relation to video storytelling. How has it benefited LiveChat?
Well, before we started with video heavily like now, LiveChat still had a YouTube channel. There was small video productions being done. But it was the problem of the tone of voice. We were very generic. It's just another product video. But by changing this tone of voice, putting people in front of it, like even when we start our productions, I mean, if you look from our first videos to what we do now, there's a huge difference. And but when people get to see this change, they also get to learn like, well, there's value here. There's value here, and who's making this value or who's giving us this value? Oh, LiveChat. Who is LiveChat? Let's go and find out more. So that's sort of the journey that we want to achieve, is that you're so happy with the content that we're putting out that you're gonna start going deeper, like deep down the rabbit hole, and find out that wow, look at all the stuff that LiveChat is doing. and it's been working. It's been working good. But yeah, looking at the way that LiveChat, it really changed the way they talk. They realized that product is not going to sell itself. Even though the product is amazing, we need to give the product a personality, and that's what video came in to play. It's like let's start giving it a voice. And nowadays, it's not just me anymore. I have Kaya. She's our co-host. She does another great series, and we also started pushing other people from our company. Just get in front of the camera, talk about what you do. You don't need to talk like we do. Just talk about your stuff.
Yeah.
And again, it's growing. It keeps moving forward, and it's working great. We really want to encourage our own company to start just grabbing the phone and start talking about their job.
Yeah, that's remarkable. Like to see the entire company coming on board with video storytelling. I mean, I've been on your website on LiveChat, and I see like how vibrant the colors are. So I can imagine the type of person is. And then to be able to see it in video, like, now I know how they look like or how they sound like. So I guess that's one of the successes. Even like in your video storytelling, it's like people watch your video and then they go deeper down the rabbit hole. And that is kind of like me finding out more about you as well.
Exactly. I mean, I was surprised that you did that much looking into the videos that we've done, and so, but that proves that it's just work. You see, like, let me find out more. But also, it works because you, I mean, maybe you were the target customer, right? So that's the other thing, the expectations of video. And I don't know if you want to ask me about that later, but don't expect that everybody's gonna like your video or everybody's gonna dig your video. Yeah, you're gonna get a lot of hate too. I mean, the trolls are everywhere, man. I mean, I remember posting one of my first videos and like, look at this guy, 100 followers, and he want to teach us how to do things. And I'm like, Jesus, I'm really trying here, man. It's my first time.
But look at you now.
Little. Yeah, exactly. Where are you following? But we keep growing. I mean, 1,000 is a great milestone, but we're far from where we want to be eventually, just to be the voice of business communication.
Yeah.
And then we'll all drip down to LiveChat.
Yeah. If I can encourage you guys, it's like just keep doing it, because like I feel your content is valuable for your target audience. So just like filter through the noise and keep sticking to your lane, and I'm sure you will continue to grow your YouTube channel.
Exactly. Thanks, man. Thanks.
Now, I know I'm speaking to a storyteller, and you're very effective and engaging when I watch your videos and the way you talk. So perhaps if you're speaking to someone who's asking, how do I do storytelling right? What would be like your 3 tips for them to do storytelling right?
Definitely the first thing is to stop trying to do storytelling right. That will be the first one for sure. And the second is just try to go back to how you tell your own stories to people around you. And I don't know, any anecdote that happened to you want to tell to a friend, try to see the structure of the way you're talking. I know it's very technical, but it's not that much, because after all, it's natural. It's something that happened to us. So I had to find out when, in which occasions of my life, people really listened to what I had to say, and why did they listen to it, and what I was doing different that will make people listen. And eventually, I figured all these things out, and then I forgot about it, and I stopped caring about it. So I know that, look, this is my tone of voice as a person. My values match the company values, so this is how we talk. I'm not overriding the way the company talks. It's actually, we are a match.
Yeah.
I talk from a place of knowledge. I talk about the things that I know. I'm not going to get involved in things that I don't know, because I did. And there are a couple of videos in there that I know I BS my way around. But I found out, like, look, I don't need to do that. I'm just going to stick to the stuff that I know and engage people. Even if I don't know them well, I will talk about it from a place that I'm not sure about this, but this is how I understand about these things. If you want to know more, there's plenty of information, but this is my vision. And after all, that's what you're bringing in, right? It's your own experience, your own vision of things.
Yeah. And I think that's also being like very real and genuine, and people can kind of like figure that part out, especially through a video. Maybe through a podcast and audio, you can't sense it, but through a video, you'll be able to see it as well.
Actually, I started my own podcast as a therapy, basically, and I started talking about midlife crisis. Okay. I only have like 6 episodes or 5 episodes or something like that, but it's so great to find people or friends or even random people who's like, wow, I'm going through the same thing, man. Like, oh, wow. Cool. That message relate to someone. And it's the same in business. Like when you talk about, look, you're struggling with customer service, let me tell you what we do. Oh, perfect. Now we can relate. And I think that's the key problem.
Yeah. So perhaps we could revisit, like you mentioned about what are some, I guess, your expectations of what a video should be? Maybe you'd like to clarify that and shed some light on that as well.
Yes, I will definitely encourage you to think of your own journey first. Because if you, and I make this mistake when I joined LiveChat, I didn't have experience on creating a YouTube channel or anything like that. I was good at communicating. So let's see how that goes. And my biggest mistake was to say, okay, we're going to get 1,000 subscribers in a year. And my boss, he asked me a really good question. I was like, why? I don't know. It's a good number, right? And yeah, it's a good number, but why and how?
Yeah.
And I was really, I made a mistake here. So I had to work a bit extra to get the 1,000 subscribers. But the thing is, you need to see and adapt your goals. You cannot start with blind goals and saying all right, I'm starting my YouTube channel. In a year, we need to have this. In a year, because you don't know exactly how your video niche will be. Yep. It's not going to be the same amount of people that read your blogs, for example, because the people that read maybe don't want to watch video. And same the other way around, right? So if your blog post or an article is getting, 10,000 views per month, don't expect your video to do the same, even if you copy the exact content.
Yeah.
So I think start with making sure that the watch hours are high. That will tell you at least that even if you don't have many views, the people viewing your content is actually consuming it a lot.
Yeah.
They're really watching your stuff.
Yeah.
If you have 10,000 views of one video, but everybody watched the first 10 seconds and turned off, what's the point? I mean, that's just empty views, right? But you need to adapt the goals. You need to be very flexible with the way your channel grows and understand the people who are watching the stuff that you put out.
A really good point that you mentioned about watch hours and viewing. And also just being able to adapt your goals. And I'm sure our listeners who are listening to this, even myself, just being able to hear from that as we think about even video strategy at Piktochart, what you said really makes sense. So really for something for us to consider. Well, I'm sure you draw a lot of inspiration out there. Would you like to share some of your favorite examples of businesses and brands whom you think are doing video storytelling successfully?
That's my problem. That's my pickle with that question, because brands try to talk and they're great at doing amazing advertising. For example, Monday.com or Grammarly, or I'm pretty sure anyone who signed up in YouTube will see an eToro advertising, and they're good. I get to watch them eventually just because they're good, and brands are doing that very well. They engage you with really fun, entertaining content, and that's a key. Entertaining. Doesn't matter what you put out. Try to make it entertaining. Try to make it for people to enjoy it. So I cannot really pinpoint. I just leave those brands in there because I'm really attracted to their advertising. But I think brands are doing that well. Now, on people, I really base myself and analyze the way, for example, Simon Sinek talks, how Gary Vee talks, not to copy them or give me an influence. It's just to say, all right, why are people listening to them? What is it that they do that they sound authentic, right? And that sort of helped me the only way to sound authentic is to be authentic. You're not going to sound authentic. Let's try to be more authentic. You just have to be yourself. That's the only way. If you listen to Simon Sinek, and this is sort of a mixed feeling, he engaged amazingly, but he throws at you generic content. It's stuff that you can find anywhere and stuff that mostly is very common sense. And think about Gary Vee as well. Gary Vee will tell you amazing things of how you need to hustle, how you need to work hard, how you need to be everywhere. Yeah, we all know that, man. I mean, people's been working forever, but it's the way he say it to you that you get, okay, Jesus, Gary told me to do this. I'll do it. So I really think it's the style and authenticity more than the actual content. The content will obviously need to be valuable, but it's the way they engage that they're really interesting here.
Yeah, I'm sure because the message that they have is valuable, but the messenger itself carrying that message is also as equally important. So it's good that you brought up being yourself, not trying to copy someone else. If you're perhaps a more quiet and more analytical person, then perhaps you should offer your content in that manner.
Exactly. Well, I mean, you also need to think of the other side. If you have a funeral home, you don't want to go super entertaining and happy, and
definitely
you want to keep sort of the tone of the people that is listening to this. It's a bit of both ways. Be yourself, but also try to connect with the tone of of the recipient.
Yeah, correct. And I guess that's where knowing your company and who are the people you're reaching out to is so important, and you find the right balance. Well, we're actually coming to almost the end of the episode. Before we go into the fun questions, I guess I want to hear like your take on video storytelling, and perhaps if you have any thoughts that you have lately about video storytelling, and yeah, what would the industry look like, or some of the new lessons you've learned so far about that.
I think that the main lesson is what we were just saying before is analyze yourself, be authentic, and hear the way you tell stories outside video. What are the stories that people stop and listen? Is like when I talk to my wife, I sort of try to figure out when she stopped listening, because we do that. Like we stop listening to people and we just pretend and we throw a, oh, that's crazy. Oh, yeah, you know. But sometimes we break that and people listen to the whole story and they're very interested in. So it's looking a lot into the way you tell stories and applying that to the way you tell the content. Also, super important, know your stuff. You need to know what you're talking about. And if you don't know if you're going to tell about facts, better skip them. If you don't know if those facts are real, you're proving it to yourself, just don't do it. Just tell like, look, I'm going to tell you about something I read that might be interesting. If it might differ from what you think, but I just read it. Don't say like, oh, we try it and it worked. No, don't lie, and just know your stuff, because then you can tell it from a better place and it will give you more confidence as well.
Well, thank you for sharing so many valuable insights with us today, Marcos. I've definitely learned a lot about video storytelling from you in this episode. And I'm sure you've helped to convince some of our listeners today why they should start investing in video storytelling. Even if it's
just
hard.
Go for it.
Yeah. Remember TTT? Test.
Exactly.
Yeah. So before we conclude this episode, I usually do this with our guests where I ask some fun questions related to storytelling. And this is actually a great way for our listeners to learn about what inspires you as a storyteller. So if you're ready, I'm going to ask you these questions.
All right, let's go for it.
All right. So my first question for you is like, what is your favorite movie?
Back to the Future. Eyes closed, hands down. No questions about it. Back to the Future, the whole trilogy is amazing to me.
Yeah, so 1, 2, 3. All right. And what about your favorite book, a different part of storytelling instead of video?
All right, books. I do have many books that I like, but every time marketers especially ask me what book you recommend for marketing is Little Prince. The Little Prince, it has one big message. First of all, it's an enjoyable book. It has one message that's going to help you do better marketing, which is the essential is invisible to the eyes. So forget about the tech, forget about the surface, go down deep and see what is the connection that is happening that you can't see.
I think those recommendations are noteworthy for our listeners to check out. Of course, the movie Back to the Future, everyone can have watched it.
I'm sure. Yeah, exactly. I think it's still in Netflix, so go for it.
Yeah, but the book definitely. Little Prince, is that correct?
Yep, The Little Prince.
Okay, and the following questions will basically be like this or that questions. I give you an option and you have 5 seconds. So it's a very quick fire round. You just have to answer that. Right. So my first question for you is this. Would you prefer like theater or cinema?
Cinema.
Okay. Second is this. Would you prefer reading or writing?
Writing.
Okay. And for social media, would you prefer Facebook or Twitter?
Facebook.
Okay. Not LinkedIn?
Oh, you gave me 2 options. Don't.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I would have gone for LinkedIn for sure.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Now, in terms of like a platform to watch stuff, would it be Netflix or YouTube for you?
Oof, it really depends. But YouTube videos has better is wide there with the content. So YouTube video. Let's go for YouTube video.
Okay. And in terms of movie, this is not Back to the Future, but if you have 2, would it be Avatar or Star Wars for you?
Oh, Star Wars, man. Avatar, I still don't get it.
And especially if you like trilogy, then Star Wars would be a really good one. There's so many. Yeah. Okay. And finally, is this in type of like movies? Would it be action or documentaries for you?
Documentaries. I actually enjoy learning things through video. I'm a visual learner, so yeah, docs.
All right, that was fun, and I love your take on these questions. And I trust that our listeners can learn more about what inspires you. And also, do check out your favorite book, which is Little Prince.
Yep. Yeah. Everybody should go and read it twice.
All right. So before we conclude, to our listeners who'd like to be staying connected with you, Marcos, how can they reach you?
Oh, LinkedIn is my favorite platform. I spend my whole day in there. So
okay.
Yeah, find me on LinkedIn, Marcos Bravo, and you'll find me through LiveChat in there.
Yeah, definitely do check out LiveChat, and also connect with Marcos on LinkedIn. I follow him and get to watch some of his great content. So we were just talking about that earlier before the podcast. And also do check out their YouTube channel. They have two, right, on LiveChat. One is the general LiveChat. The other one is Success by LiveChat.
Yeah, we have LiveChat, the LiveChat YouTube channel, which is very dedicated to the product, and we have Success by LiveChat when we tell our experiences and give some knowledge out.
Yeah, and I'm sure our listeners would enjoy the content from Success by LiveChat. There are a lot of valuable videos there for you to watch. So once again, thank you, Marcos, for coming on this episode of the Business Storyteller Podcast. That's all that we have for today. And until the next one.
No, thank you so much, and I'll be happy to join you anytime else.
We hope you find this episode valuable. And if you haven't already, be sure to check out Piktochart for more visual storytelling tips. Piktochart is an easy-to-use visual content maker with more than 500 templates for you to choose from, ranging from infographic, presentation, report, social media graphic, and more. Join more than 8 million people who are already using Piktochart to craft amazing visual stories. That's all for today on the Business Storyteller Podcast, and we'll catch you at the next one.